Baltimore Ravens fired head coach John Harbaugh after 18 seasons on the job.
Baltimore Ravens have fired longtime head coach John Harbaugh. That's been confirmed by our lead insider, Jonathan Jones.
The Baltimore Ravens just made one of the biggest moves in NFL history. After 18 years, John Harbaugh is out. But this wasn't just about losing games. The truth behind this firing is way deeper than anyone expected. On a cold Sunday night, Tyler Loop lined up for a 44-yard field goal, make it, and the Ravens go to the playoffs. Miss it, and everything changes. Loop missed. 2 days later, John Harbaugh was fired. After nearly 2 decades of loyalty, the Ravens pulled the trigger. But that kick wasn't really why Harbaugh lost his job. Something much bigger was happening behind the scenes. John Harbaugh built a kingdom in Baltimore. When he arrived in 2008, the Ravens were coming off a 5-11 season. Nobody expected much from this defensive backs coach from Philadelphia. But Harbaugh shocked everyone. In his first season, Baltimore went 11-5 and made the playoffs. 4 years later, they won the Super Bowl. He became the longest tenured coach in Baltimore sports history. His record was incredible, 180 wins in the regular season. 13 playoff victories, 6 division championships, only 3 losing seasons in 18 years. He was one of just 8 coaches in NFL history to coach 300 games with one team. The man was a legend. But legends can fall, and this season showed all the cracks. The Ravens started 1-5. Injuries destroyed them early. Lamar Jackson hurt his hamstring in Week 4. The defense couldn't stop anyone. They gave up 177 points in their first 5 games. That's the 11th most in NFL history. Baltimore looked broken. Harbaugh promised changes and made a big trade to fix the defense. Things got better. The Ravens won 5 straight games after their bye week. They climbed back to 500. Hope returned to Baltimore. But then they lost 3 straight games. Suddenly, they needed help just to make the playoffs. The final week set up perfectly. Beat Pittsburgh on Sunday night, and they're in. The game was a classic Ravens-Steelers battle. Low scoring, physical, intense. Then the fourth quarter went crazy. 4 lead changes in the final 9 minutes. Baltimore drove down the field on 4th down, got in field goal range, and gave Loop the chance to win it. He missed. Season over. The Ravens finished 8-9. No playoffs for the first time since 2021. Their home record was 3-6, the worst in franchise history. But here's where it gets interesting. That missed kick wasn't the real problem. NFL insider Ian Rappaport dropped a bomb. He said Harbaugh didn't just lose games, he lost the locker room. The players didn't want him anymore. The Ravens listened to what their guys were saying, and enough of them wanted a change. This wasn't just 1 or 2 players either. It spread throughout the entire team. And it all started with Lamar Jackson. Rappaport said it clearly. Harbaugh and Jackson weren't on the same page anymore. The 2-time MVP and his coach couldn't see eye to eye. Think about that. These two built something special together. Jackson became a superstar under Harbaugh. They won 4 division titles together. They earned 2 number 1 seeds. They went to the playoffs 6 times in 8 years. But somewhere along the way, something broke. The relationship that saved Harbaugh's job years ago finally turned against him. Reports started coming out weeks before the firing. Stories about Jackson falling asleep in meetings, about him staying up late playing video games, about Harbaugh getting tired of it all. Harbaugh denied everything. He said their relationship was A+, but actions speak louder than words. When asked after that Pittsburgh loss if he wanted Harbaugh back, Jackson wouldn't answer. He said he was too caught up in what just happened. He said it wasn't his focus. That silence said everything. The real issue went deeper than just Jackson and Harbaugh. It was about offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Jeff Zrebiec from The Athletic revealed the truth. Jackson and Monken's personalities didn't mesh well. Harbaugh spent years acting as a buffer between his quarterback and his play caller. Think about how exhausting that must have been. Every day, trying to keep 2 key people working together when they couldn't stand each other. This season, the offense ranked 16th in total yards and 11th in points. Those were Monken's worst numbers in 3 years. Jackson had his worst statistical season in years. His completion percentage dropped to 63.6%. He threw just 21 touchdowns. And because of his hamstring injury, he barely ran. His rushing yards were the lowest since his rookie year. Multiple reporters said the Ravens wanted Harbaugh to fire Monken. He refused. That's when the Ravens made their decision. If Harbaugh wouldn't fix the problem, they'd fix it by moving on from him. Owner Steve Bisciotti called it an incredibly difficult decision. He talked about how much respect he had for Harbaugh. He said he firmly believed Harbaugh would make the Hall of Fame. But respect doesn't win Super Bowls, and that's what this is really about. Since winning the Super Bowl in 2012, the Ravens haven't been back. They've had success, playoff wins, division titles, but they keep falling short when it matters most. Jackson is just 3-5 in playoff games. He's only made one AFC championship game. Meanwhile, their division rival Mike Tomlin keeps dragging his Steelers teams to the playoffs every single year. That comparison had to hurt. The Steelers haven't had a losing season in forever. They always find a way. Baltimore thought they had the better coach, the better quarterback, the better roster. But Pittsburgh kept beating them when it counted. And now Jackson's contract is coming up. His cap hit jumps to $74.5 million this offseason. The Ravens need to sign him long-term. But how do you pay your quarterback that much money if he's not happy with the coaching staff? Sources said a new coach might make it easier to get a deal done. Jackson had issues with the coaching staff this year. He skipped voluntary workouts. He started sitting out one practice every week. Those were new things that created friction. A fresh start with a new voice might reset everything. And Jackson wins MVP awards when he gets new coordinators. He won it in 2019 with Greg Roman. He won it again in 2023 with Todd Monken. Maybe a new head coach could unlock another level. The timing of this firing shocked everyone because Harbaugh just signed a 3-year extension last offseason. He was supposed to be under contract through 2028. The Ravens don't make quick decisions. They value stability. They've only had 3 head coaches in 30 years. But this year forced their hand. Sports Illustrated's Connor Orr called the Ravens' job one that coaches dream of. You get to coach a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You get one of the best front offices in the league. You get an organization that knows how to win. This job only comes around once a decade. Within 45 minutes of the firing being announced, Harbaugh's agent got calls from 7 different NFL teams. 7 teams currently have openings. That means at least one team with a coach called about Harbaugh. Someone out there is thinking about firing their guy just to get Harbaugh. He's expected to be a favorite for the New York Giants job. The man who got fired will have his pick of jobs. That's how good he is. But it wasn't good enough for Baltimore anymore. Not when the locker room turned on him, not when Jackson wanted someone else, not when playoff success disappeared. So what really happened here? The Ravens didn't fire Harbaugh just because Tyler Loop missed a kick. They fired him because 18 years led to stale relationships. They fired him because Jackson and Monken couldn't work together and Harbaugh wouldn't choose. They fired him because the players stopped believing. They fired him because winning the division isn't enough when you can't win in January. This is the end of an era in Baltimore. A great coach is gone. A franchise quarterback needs a new voice. And the NFL just got more interesting. The Ravens are betting everything that change will bring them back to the Super Bowl. Only time will tell if they're right.